Good evening, everyone. I'll call the City Council to order at 8 o'clock on Monday evening, June 26, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I could ask the councilors to remain standing. I was informed that former Ward 5 City Councilor John Hutchins Fry Jr., now residing or was residing in Vienna, Virginia, passed away on May 11th, 2023. Councilor Fry was elected in November 1977 to represent the residents of Ward 5. At the age of 20 years old, he's the youngest city councilor to be elected in the city of Marlborough. So if I could ask for just a moment of silence in Councilor Fry's honor. Thank you very much. This evening, you may all be seated. Thanks. This evening, we have 15 items on this evening's agenda, and I will ask the clerk to please read agenda item number 1.
Minutes, City Council meeting, June 5th, 2023.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file.
Motion made and second to accept and place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed 10-0. Agenda item number 2.
Minutes, special City Council meeting, June 12th, 2023.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also move to accept and place on file.
Motion's made and second to accept and place on file the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed 10-0. Agenda item number 3.
Now is the time of public hearing on an application for a wireless special permit from Kristen Ledoux on behalf of Dish Wireless to install 3 wireless antennas and related equipment on the rooftop at 2 Mount Royal Avenue, order number -23-100-8913.
Okay, this public hearing will be taken up in 4 stages. First, with the public speaking in favor. Second, questions from the public. Third, public speaking in opposition. And fourth, questions from the City Council. So we'll open the first part of the public hearing with the public speaking in favor, starting with the applicant. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Andrew Gorham, address 100 Apollo Drive, Chelmsford, Massachusetts. I'm here on behalf of Kristen Ledoux this evening for MBNC, on behalf of Dish Wireless. Just a little bit of background. Three and a half years ago, T-Mobile and Sprint merged. As part of that agreement, the FCC and Dish Wireless stepped up to become the 4th largest wireless carrier alongside Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. As part of that, they're building out their own 5G nationwide network. This site, located at 2 Mount Royal Road, is part of that. So we're going to be putting antennas on the roof. It's an existing site. There's already antennas there for another carrier. We're not changing anything, we're not doing anything crazy. We're going to be putting 3 antennas, 6 RRUs, 3 junction boxes, and 3 fiber cables. And like I said, we're going to follow the FCC guidelines per section 6409, excuse me. And we're going to continue to use this as an active site.
Thanks, Andrew. Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Members of the public speaking in opposition? Members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the City Councilors? Questions from the City Councilors? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your introduction. So you were originally your company was originally part of Dish TV?
Dish Network.
Dish Network.
Is this on? Yep. So Dish Network, they expanded. They're now Dish Wireless as well as Dish Network. So they're building, their network previously did not exist. They're currently building that network out. This site is going to be a part of that nationwide network.
I see, and I know it's not your problem with the previous satellite dishes, but you see them still hanging out, and you got to wonder if they're really needed. The question I have for you is on this building here, is there any old equipment that you own that will be taken down before you put up the new network antennas and so forth?
As far as I am aware, there's not currently any Dish Wireless equipment on the building right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Oram. Any other questions from the city councilors? Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just a couple of quick questions. So this is a new installation for you guys, right?
This is, yes.
Okay, what do you think the range is going to be for that type of distance? It's near 495. You're just trying to grab that traffic from there, or?
Mainly, yeah.
Okay. So how many other, are you walking up and down 495? Is that kind of what's going on? Or?
So we have RF engineers that pinpoint locations that they think would be preferable for the network. So they map it out and kind of try and fill in the spots. So in the more rural areas, we rely mostly on towers.
Mm-hmm.
In the more densely populated areas, we look to rooftops because it's obviously a lot more difficult to get tower
Right.
in a city.
And
So this is one of those rooftops that is essentially going to be filling in the gaps within the tower sites.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Any other questions from the city councilors? Councilor Landers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One quick one. What's your ideal timetable?
Ideally, we would have this permitted and zoned within the next couple of months, and then we would look to build probably an end of the year.
Okay. It happens to be in my committee, so, you know, once we gather the information, we'll have a hearing on that, and we can move forward on it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilor Landers. Any other questions from the city councilors? Questions from the city councilors? Any questions from the city councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing and the entire public hearing, and this is in public service. Andrew, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4.
Now is the time for public hearing on an application for modification of special permit from Ralph Aronov on behalf of Green Gold Group, Inc., to amend the hours of operation, type of use, and to allow internally illuminated signage at the adult-use marijuana retail establishment located at 910 Boston Post Road East within the Wayside District, order number 2023-100-8062E.
Right, again, this public hearing we've taken up in 4 stages, with the public speaking in favor, then questions from the public speaking in opposition, and then questions from the city councilors. We'll start by opening the first part of the public hearing with the public speaking in favor, starting with the applicant. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Sure, thank you. My name is James McMahon, 25 Hammond Circle in Sudbury. I'm the attorney representing Green Gold Group. We are the successors to Local Roots, who is located at 910 Boston Post Road. We've been in there for about 2 months now. It's been a great soft landing into the city. Everybody's been very welcoming. We've had the pleasure of working with a few of the offices in Town Hall, the clerk's office, the assessor's, inspections department, the legal department, and the health department. Everyone has really gone out of their way to help us get settled in and point us in the right direction, as well as Economic Development Council. We had a great meeting with them on Thursday, so really happy to be in Marlborough. A little bit about Green Gold Group. We are a vertical medical recreational cannabis company. We were one of the first so licensed in the state. We were licensed number 38 way back in 2017 when a lot of this first started. Marlborough is our second location for retail. We have a medical recreational site in Charlton. We acquired the Local Roots license, and that's a recreational only. And then we have a medical recreational site under construction, in Palmer, Massachusetts. It's a family-owned and operated company, 2 brothers and a sister. We have a 153,000 square foot grow facility in North Brookfield, employs about 200 people, and we are looking to hopefully expand a few things in Marlborough and continue to improve upon the site. Local Roots really left us a great site. From them leaving the business to us opening up was only 48 hours. It was pretty turnkey, but we're hoping to improve on a few things. So the first one would be, and primarily what we're interested in, is adding medical operations to that site. We are a vertical medical recreational company. Marlborough would be our only site that does not have medical marijuana services, and a lot of our patients and a lot of our current recreational customers in Marlborough have really asked about it. Not only is it what we started as a company and what we're really known for is our provision of therapeutic cannabis, but in addition to that, it's significantly more cost effective for the consumer. There's no tax on medical products. You can discount medical products. You can offer hardship discounts to seniors, people who are within certain guidelines of federal poverty levels, veterans, and many other groups. We have a lot of our current customers who either live in Marlborough and come to our shop there and ask about medical, or who are used to our Charlton store and may work in Marlborough, and are looking for the operations there as well. Adding medical use of marijuana facilities to the shop, there would be absolutely no change to the building itself. We don't expect any significant increase in the intensity of use. Based off what we've seen in the marketplace and our other stores, it would be about a 15% increase in the customer count. So for us, it would be roughly another 15 to 20 customers per day. And all it takes on our side to add it, we file the application with the Cannabis Control Commission. That goes through their process. But operationally, we add a new line for the medical customers inside of the store so that they have a dedicated lane. We dedicate a point of sale system to their use. And then everything else is on the back end. Different software system to track the cannabis, a different sales system to track the patients and their allotments, and a different inventory management system to separate the medical and recreational cannabis. So absolutely no changes to the facility, absolutely no changes to the site, just some internal operational changes. It's something that we're really passionate about, and it's something that we really would love to bring to Marlborough, to bring it in line with our other facilities. The other thing that we are hoping to do with that is we are the furthest east dispensary in Marlborough. The communities surrounding us all have banned cannabis. We'd love to bring those shoppers and bring those dollars into Marlborough. Right now they're going elsewhere for their cannabis. With the amount of dispensaries that are in the state right now, it's not like people aren't purchasing it if they can't find it somewhere, and we'd love to bring those dollars here and bring that tax revenue to the city. Our second thing that we're hoping to do is expand the operating hours, and that falls in line with our increased use of medical marijuana. Right now, the current hours for the site are from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Sunday. And what we've realized is we have a line when we go in to open the shop at 10 a.m. There's people waiting outside. This morning there were 6 cars waiting outside for us to open. That creates bunching, it creates an added demand on our staff in there, and what we're hoping to do is be able to spread that out a little bit throughout the day. We've also had a number of people message us on our social media channels and email saying they came to the store in the evening, had found it was already closed, and we're hoping we could stay open later if they work a later shift or something along those lines. So what we're hoping to do is to be open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., 7 days per week. This would bring the store in line with our shops in Charlton and in Palmer. It would allow us to share staff between the stores because we'd have unified scheduling between the stores, and would allow us to greater serve the community because we have noticed a demand for it on those shoulder hours on the other side. It also would be roughly in line with the operating hours of Garden Remedies and COSA, Veti Naturals, both of whom are clients of ours. Actually, on the wholesale side of things, we supply about 40% of the dispensaries in Massachusetts. So people are purchasing our cannabis at other shops in Marlborough. We'd love to bring them to our shop to purchase our cannabis. And then the final part of this is our signage. We are hoping to upgrade the signage. We're on the side of the building there. As you come into the lot, it's in between us and the diner. It's a little bit difficult to see, especially if you're driving down Route 20 on that long face of the building. So what we are hoping to do is upgrade the signage as shown over our front door at the corner of the building, and then a small corner sign on the front face of the building facing Route 20. These two would be exact replicas of the signs that local routes had. This one would be a new sign. All of them are within the city sign code in terms of dimensions. They all pass the CCC's code in terms of content. What we're asking for is permission to have those signs be illuminated. Because we are in the Wayside Historic District, it requires an amendment to the special permit to have those signs be illuminated. The reason we'd like them to be illuminated is during inclement weather, during evening hours, particularly in the winter, it's very difficult to see the signage for the building, to know where the door is. It's not the most well lit of parking areas, and that route going back to the Stone Yard, to the dance studio, and the other businesses back there. So if we were able to have these lit signs, not only would it serve the public interest in helping us bring more customers to the shop and have them be able to find the shop when they get there, it also would improve traffic safety on Route 20 because you wouldn't have people slowing down, looking for the store, stopping to check their phones to see where the GPS is. You'd be able to see it much more easily. Under CCC code, these signs could only be illuminated when we are open. They would come on a half an hour before sunset. They would go off when we close. And what we're hoping to do is have them be light box signs. It's essentially the same type of sign that Steve and Anthony's restaurant has across the street, where it's a panel in front, a plexiglass panel in front with lighting behind it. So it's illuminated, you know, like a traditional box sign behind it. But the one that and that would be this new sign, which would be on the front corner of the building, as well as the sign up on the top on facing Route 20.
Can you grab the mic, because no one can hear you?
Oh, sorry. Never been told I'm not speaking loud enough. So this would be this new sign that we're proposing on the front corner of the building, as well as the light box sign up at the very top of the building, replacing the one that Local Roots had. Those would be those light box signs. We have an example here. It projects slightly from the wall, plastic panel in front, lit with LED strips behind. Over the door, what we'd like to do is something that has a little bit more visual impact and a little bit more punch. So what that is, it's called a pan face panel, and it's a solid composite panel. And then the letters actually project out slightly from that panel and have some illumination behind them. It gives it a nice halo effect. It's the signage we have in Charlton. It's the signage we're going to have in Palmer. So it would help us have nice unified signage between all three of our stores. So it would be this flat panel here. The letters stick out a couple inches past that. And then there's little LED strips behind those letters that give it a little extra punch and a little extra illumination at night. So I know the board has, I think, 13 after me to get through, so thank you for letting me go on about everything, and I appreciate your consideration of our application.
Thank you, Mr. McMahon. Are there any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Any other members of the public speaking in favor? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Any questions from the public? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Any members of the public speaking in opposition? Members of the public speaking in opposition? Members of the public speaking in opposition? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing. Questions from the City Council? Councilor Wagner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of questions. One is, what percentage do you anticipate between medical use and recreational use?
What we've seen at our other stores, and it tracks industry-wide, it's about 85% adult use of cannabis and about 15% medical use.
15 medical, okay. And if I remember correctly, I haven't driven by there, but there's a very large sign at the entrance. Mm-hmm. And so I guess, one, I have a concern if the whole district, and I get how you want your stores to be unified, but there's also a concern, a unification of what everybody else has to follow in this district. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not seeing with the large sign at the entrance, I'm having trouble understanding why a sign with a light shining on it, like everybody else, is not going to help you, is going to harm your business in some way, and that you feel you need an illuminated sign, which is going to be different from everybody else. So help me understand why you think that is.
Sure. So what we found is those signs that have external illumination facing onto it, you get some shadowing. It's not as easy to read, especially when you're traveling at a rate of speed on Route 20. And what we've also seen is in about the 6 weeks we've been operating here, we're running the exact same advertisements and the exact same sales that we do run in Charlton, but we're only seeing about a third of the business. So what we're really hoping to do, especially as the market is constricting and especially as you're starting to see your first wave of cannabis shops close down or go into receivership, is be able to draw as much business in as possible. And what we've really found more than anything else is increasing the visibility of the store is the greatest driver for traffic on that. In our Charlton store, every time we've added or upgraded signage, we've seen a marked increase in business.
Thank you.
Thank you, Council Wagner. Council Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I wish you the best of luck, and it's impressive that you turned the thing around in 48 hours, to be honest. But, you know, I think, as my Ward 1 councilor said, you have a large, you know, pylon sign right on Route 20, okay? And you're gonna see that before you see the building. So I'm not convinced that, you know, the exception is warranted to get the backlit sign. And we can, there's a variety of ways to actually light the sign without it being backlit. And I hope that you pursue other avenues for that, okay? As far as the hours that you have, I forget what I think it's the city standard is 9 to 9, 9 to 10 or something.
We actually have, I think we've got the other 3 standard, but I think it's basically 10 to 5 on Sundays and 10 to 8, I believe, during the week.
I've seen Garden Remedies open at 9, but, you know, so I think there's a standard for the city, and I have no problems you fitting into that standard. But if you're asking for extended hours beyond what the city standard is, then we need to respond to that for the other dispensaries, which at this point I'd rather not. Okay, so, you know, if you feel you're constrained because of the agreement we had with the previous business, I'm fine changing that to something that is more compared to the other dispensaries. But again, I don't want to see an exception beyond what we already are giving to the other dispensaries. So, but best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Doucette. Councilor Perlman.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the presentation. I know it takes a lot to come up here and share the information with all of us. I had a couple questions. The first, you know, there was some discussion earlier, obviously, about the state of the sign compared to other businesses. Have you engaged at all with some of the businesses nearby to see if they would be comfortable with this type of sign being right near their property?
We've engaged with some of the local businesses to see if they'd be willing to do co-branding opportunities with us. Some of those are more appropriate for us to do than others. We're happy to engage with the diner next door, but we really don't want to engage with the dance studio for obvious reasons. We haven't heard anything back from any neighboring businesses regarding any feelings one way or the other. You know, we're surrounded by primarily commercial businesses there, but we haven't specifically engaged on it, but we also haven't gotten any negative feedback.
Okay. And then also regarding the hours, I know you mentioned sort of there were some cars lining up, you know, before you opened on typical days. What is sort of maybe the typical amount of business over the course of a day? Are there peak time periods, maybe in comparison to your other stores, would be helpful as a reference point?
So really for us, peak hours are the commuting hours is what we've seen. Cannabis is no longer a destination purchase. People, just like stopping at the convenience store, the liquor store, the bank, anything else like that, they do that while they're already out on another trip. We find very few people are, you know, we wish they would, but very few people are specifically making trips for cannabis. It's really integrated itself into the daily life cycle. So we have people who, when they're going out in the morning to run their morning errands, they like to make a stop. Really what we see as our busiest hours is when people get off of work. And then after that, it follows the payroll cycle. We have busy days on Thursday when direct deposit hits. Friday's a busy day, as is Saturday. Sunday tapers off. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are pretty slow days. So it really follows when people have that disposable cash in their pocket.
Okay. And then if this ends up, you know, going to committee, it might be helpful also to have some images that broaden out and show the surrounding area. I know I just pulled it up on Google Maps to kind of see it more broadly, but I would recommend that so that things are kind of juxtaposed and not just your business specifically. And just as a point, you know, obviously there's a lot of construction going on Route 20, so I imagine that could also be a reason why the business might be lower. I know a lot of people have been avoiding Route 20 because of the detours and where, you know, the state road is being redone. So I don't know if that's been, you know, under consideration for the business, but I would imagine, you know, maybe if there's something like we're still open kind of deal that could be done when people are coming near the road would be useful. Otherwise, I don't anticipate that this will be you know, continuance in terms of the lower participation at the store, just given, the use at the other cannabis stores. It seems to be like we haven't heard anything about any issues, so it's just something that I wanted to make sure was on your radar, because I know that's obviously a little bit of time right now and you guys just opened, but something that hopefully once it's done, people will love driving on Route 20 and they'll want to come directly to your business.
We are absolutely hoping so as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Perlman. Council Orem.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hello, Attorney McMahon. I concur with the two ward councilors that spoke as it relates to we let one do it, we might as open up the door for everyone else. Do we need to change the hours for all the facilities? That might be a discussion, but I wouldn't want to treat one facility different from another. We're already seeing a gas station on Boston Post Road East asking for 24 hours a day. And again, if they want it, why can't the gas station on Main Street have it? You understand where we're coming from. And Council Perlman just brought up the fact that I felt the same way, a little boxed in. Like, how am I looking at this from the road? So those will be very helpful to have those plans. But my two questions were related to what you brought up in your presentation. First thing you mentioned was vertical marijuana. What is that? I never heard that before.
So a vertical cannabis company is an all-in-one. So what we do, we cultivate the marijuana, we package it, we process it, we wholesale it, and we also retail it. So it's full life cycle of the product.
That makes sense. Now, I just never heard it, so I'm saying, what's that mean? And then you also mentioned that you'll be the most east unit of medical and recreational. There are no other medical recreational cannabis facilities past Marlborough going towards Boston?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Most east in the city.
Most east in the city. Okay, I thought you meant most east in this end of the state.
But there is a pretty significant gap. The next closest ones are in Watertown. So there is a good sort of desert that we're hoping to draw from as well.
I remember you saying that, so that's what you were meaning by drawing the other cities or towns. So those are my only questions right now, and do understand how we have to handle our decision too, based on what's good for you should be good for the others. So thank you for your understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Council Orem. Any other questions from the city councilors? Questions from the city councilors? Any further questions from the city councilors? Hearing none, I close that portion of the public hearing and the entire public hearing, and this is in Urban Affairs. Thank you, Mr. McMahon.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 5.
Communication from the mayor regarding notification of appointment of ADA compliance officer.
Councilor Dumas.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the communication. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? Communication is filed 10-0. Agenda item number 6.
Communication from Assistant City Solicitor Jeremy McManus regarding proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650 zoning, Section 36, Executive Residential Overlay District, to increase the cap on the number of multifamily dwelling units allowed from 475 to 950 in proper legal form. Order number 23-100-8872.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to accept and place on file the communication from the Assistant City Solicitor and move the document to reports.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the solicitor's communication and move this item to reports of committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is filed and going to reports of committee 10-0. Agenda item number 7.
Communication from Assistant Building Commissioner William Payton regarding request for approval for replacement of 2 flat wall signs and freestanding sign, Fairfield and 105 Apex Drive within the hospitality and recreation mixed use overlay district.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Unless anybody has an issue, they are simply changing existing signs to meet their new name. I would move to approve.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the 3 signs. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The signs are approved 10-0. Agenda item number 8.
Communication from the Planning Board regarding favorable recommendation on the proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650 zoning, Section 36 Executive Residential Overlay District, to increase the cap on number of multifamily dwelling units from 475 to 950.
That's right.
Order number 23-100-8872.
Counselor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to accept and place on file.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file the planning board's recommendation. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It is filed, 10-0. Agenda item number 9.
Communication from the Retirement Board regarding MGL Chapter 32, Section 103J, cost of living increase.
Counselor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do not see a need to send this into committee this evening. The Retirement Board did vote for the increase on the base salary, and as a body, we wouldn't have the ability to change that $1,000 base. With that, Mr. President, motion to approve the COLA base increase from $12,000 to $13,000, please.
Motion made and seconded to increase the COLA base. Any discussion on the motion? Counselor Orem.
Thank you, Mr. President. And for full disclosure, I am on Middlesex retirement, so coming up the stairs, and I've spoken to a few of the retirees prior, I don't see this as an issue. If anything, I think when you look at our retirees and the years they put into the city, and you look at me from Ashland getting more than them, being on Middlesex retirement, I hope, and I know it's up to the Retirement Board, but I hope they'll start looking at trying to make it unified, as we said earlier to another applicant, and that they'll keep moving forward so that they can get treated like their fellows in area cities and towns. But I definitely would support this and hope that the Retirement Board will keep moving forward due to the fact that as we get to retire, we realize how limited our income is. So again, I think it's justified for tonight, and hopefully we'll see additional requests. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Orem. On the motion to approve the COLA base increase, so Counselor Landers.
Mr. President, just quickly, I want to give full disclosure that I'm on the Massachusetts Teachers Retirement, but I likewise, I do support this, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor Landers. Anyone else? On the motion to approve the COLA base increase, all those in favor? Opposed? It is approved, 10-0. Agenda item number 10.
Communication from Central Mass Mosquito Control Project regarding personnel will be in the community responding to residents concerning about mosquitoes on various dates in July 2023.
Counselor Orem.
Thank you, Mr. President. The dates are on the July dates are being posted in the, I believe, the clerk's office. Thank you, Mr.
Yes.
Clerk. And they are a little different for the month of July because of the 4th of July, but they are posted for people that may have requests. Reach out to the clerk's office, and the dates and the contacts will be there. Thank you, Mr. President.
For the record,
Accept and place on file. I'm
for
sorry.
the record, Wilson had them posted ahead of time.
Oh, thank you, Wilson. And I
On the
would,
motion to accept and place on file, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The communication is filed, 10-0. Agenda item number 11.
Application for taxi livery license from Tim Ending, DBA Platinum Care Plus, to operate a livery service with one vehicle, 67 Forest Street, Unit 267.
Councilor Landers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please refer to Public Service Committee.
Motion made and seconded to refer to the Public Services Committee. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's going to Public Service, 10-0. Agenda item number 12.
Petition from Lightpath to install underground cable and conduit and other equipment within the public way on Cedar Hill Street near D'Angelo Drive.
Councilor Landers.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Please refer to Public Services Committee.
Motion made and seconded to refer to Public Service. We'll set a public hearing for July 24th, and we will advertise. Any discussion on the motion to refer to Public Service at a public hearing for July 24th and to advertise? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's going to Public Service with a public hearing on July 24th and advertised with a vote of 10-0. Agenda item 13.
Application for special permit from Rick Marino, trustee on behalf of Marco Realty Trust, to expand a pre-existing non-conforming use pursuant to City Code Chapter 650 zoning, Section 12B at 1315 Mechanic Street.
Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to refer this to Urban Affairs, set a public hearing date for July 24th, and advertise.
Motion made and seconded to refer the item to the Urban Affairs Committee. We'll set a public hearing for July 24th and advertise. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? It's going to Urban Affairs with a public hearing July 24th and advertised, 10-0. Agenda item 14.
Minutes of boards, commissions, and committees.
Mr. President.
Councilor Doucette.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Motion to accept and place on file the minutes of the boards, commissions, and committees.
Motion made and seconded to accept and place on file all the minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The minutes are filed, 10-0. 15.
Claims.
Councilor Pearlman.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move to refer the claims to the legal department.
Motion made and seconded to refer the claims to the legal department. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The claims are going to a legal, 10-0. Reports of committees, we've got a bunch. We'll start with finance and personnel, then public service and urban. So, Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Finance Committee met on June 12, 2023. Meeting convened at 7:10 p.m. We had one item on the agenda that evening, with multiple items included. It was order number 23-100-8908. Communication from Mayor Vigil together with various transfer requests for capital improvement projects in the amount of $1,598,076.10 from free cash to accounts associated with the City Clerk's Office, Marlborough Police, Fire Department, Info Technologies Department, Department of Public Works, and the Department of Veterans Services. On a motion by Councilor Pearlman, seconded by the chair, the committee voted to recommend approval of the transfer of $152,000 for new voting machines and booths in the City Clerk's Office. Vote carried 5-0. On a motion by Councilor Oram, seconded by the chair, the committee voted to recommend approval of the transfer of $325,076.10 for 3 marked cruisers, 31 bulletproof vests, and 60 new tasers. Vote carried 5-0. On a motion by Councilor Pearlman, seconded by the chair, the committee voted to recommend approval of the transfer of $380,000 for the IT department to complete the firewall replacement and vital security enhancements for the city's network. Vote carried 5-0. On a motion by Councilor Oram, seconded by the chair, the committee voted to recommend approval of the transfer of $25,000 to replace mattresses in the fire department. The vote carried 5-0. On a motion by Councilor Pearlman, seconded by the chair, the committee voted to recommend approval of the transfer of $15,000 to replace all 15 Veterans Square signs with a good quality galvanized metal sign to include a photo of the honored veteran. Vote carried 5-0. On a motion by Councilor Oram, seconded by the chair, the committee voted to recommend approval of the transfer of $701,000 to replace numerous vehicles and upgrade the wash bay equipment in the Department of Public Works. The vote carried 5-0. Meeting was adjourned at 7:53 p.m. Mr. President, I will be asking for a suspension this evening.
There's been a request for a suspension of the rules. All those in favor of the suspension? Opposed? Suspension carries 10-0. Councilor Irish.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to move the recommendation of committee to approve order number 23-100-8908 for the total amount of $1,598,076.10 from free cash to accounts associated with the enclosed order, please.
Motion's made and seconded to approve the transfer from free cash in the order of $1,598,076.10 for capital equipment purchases. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The capital equipment transfer is approved, 10-0. Personnel.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. So the City Council Personnel Committee met on June 20th at 7 p.m. There was 4 items on the agenda. We'll start with order number 23-100-8884. Communication from the mayor with the appointment of John Kane as a wire inspector for a 3-year term. That was motioned by Councilor Doucette and seconded by the chair. It was voted 3-0 approved. Order number 23-100-8883 is item number 2, the communication from the mayor with the appointment of Robert Bourne III as plumbing and gas inspector for a 3-year term. That was motioned by Councilor Doucette, seconded by the chair, and that was voted 3-0 as well. Item number 3 is order number 23-100-8885. Communication from the mayor with the appointment of Patrick Hughes to the planning board for a 5-year term. That was motioned by Councilor Doucette, seconded by the chair with a vote of 3-0. And the last item on the Agenda is order number 23-100, 8900. Communication from the mayor with the appointment of Jonathan Friedman to the Commission of Disability for a 5-year term. That was seconded by, a motion by Councilor Doucette, second by the chair, and that was voted 3-0. We need no suspensions tonight, and that was adjourned at 7:21. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Dumas. Public Service, Councilor Landers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Public Service Committee met on June 20th. We had a wonderful meeting. We took up 2 items. The first item was order number 23-1008842. That was an application from Best Buy for a license. Unfortunately, they could not make it that night, so we postponed that in committee. The second item we took up was a very, very good discussion. I think we moved along pretty well. And that was order number 23-1008860. And that was a communication from our president, Ossing, together with proposed amendments to the City Code, Chapter 510, Sewers, the use of public sewers. I read the letter, very well-written letter, Mr. President, that you wrote, along with Councilor Wagner, indicating the need that we have to get moving on connecting houses to our city system. City Engineer DePercio explained there are 425 parcels left to connect, 30 without plans. What we mean by that somewhere along the line, either probably the builder, we do not have exact plans where the pipe from the house comes out and connects to the stub out in the street. And that was a lot of our discussion that was centered around that. So Assistant Commissioner Lafreniere explained that even with good plans or without plans, contractors still have a problem extending the trench into the pipes. Now, I thought all along myself, being a layperson, that the city had a camera that could just put down the street on the pipe and they could find the stub. Well, it's not as easy as that. And when you're digging up the street or you're digging up someone's front yard, this becomes critical. So after much discussion, and Councilor Urim, I must thank you for your input. It was very beneficial. That we talked with the commissioner and the engineer, that we could perhaps adopt a policy to use the cameras in conjunction with work with the contractors or homeowners to find the point of connection in order to comply with the existing ordinance. So that being the case, Councilor Austin, President, indicated that he would support postponing the decision on this, and that what we would do is give the Department of Public Works an opportunity to put a policy together to assist contractors and homeowners to find the point of connection. So as a result, on a motion by Councilor Irish, second by the chair, to postpone in committee pending the receipt of the Department of Public Works of the list of sewer connections requested by Councilor Urim in the Department of Public Works policy to assist contractors and the homeowners to find a point of connection as suggested by the commissioner. So this discussion took a good solid hour, but I think it was definitely, in the right direction. And, why, first of all, we want to bring them into conformance, but the whole idea is we have over 430 non-connections right now. And, I myself, I remember being on the council when we voted a lot of money to put together the sewerage situation down East Marlborough in a couple of the developments. And I know our former Councilor Delano, he pushed for it. So what we want to do is push to get more of the city, basically some of these 430, connected to the city, You know, that does bring a revenue into the city. It'll prevent with, in the future, with septic systems not working well or overflowing. And the only other thing I want to add, that homeowners, when they decide to sell their house and they're on a septic system, they have to convert over. So in a way, we're not forcing them, but we're saying, you know, get ready. If you're thinking about selling, you know, get everything lined up, and then it would be beneficial for the city also. So, Mr. Chairman, on a vote of 3-0, there was a vote to give the Department of Public Works a while to put together a policy, come back to this committee, all right, and maybe we move forward. So as a result, we just really voted to postpone the meeting. And that's my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Landers. Councilor Roby.
Thank you, Mr. President. The City Council Urban Affairs Committee met on Wednesday, June 14th. We had 2 items on our agenda. The first one was order number 23-100-8872, a communication from Attorney Falk on behalf of Apartment Partners 2 LLC regarding proposed zoning amendment to Chapter 650 zoning, Section 36, Executive Residential Overlay District, to increase the cap on the number of multifamily dwelling units. I was not at the meeting when it began, nor was the vice chair, so President Ossing was kind enough to call the meeting to order. He explained that the order was to change 3 items: language affecting the vote of the council for the special permit under the section, increased the number of dwellings from 475 to 950, and adding mixed-use development as an allowed use in the district. Mr. Montelli discussed the impact on public services to the city of the current phase of the project. The chair stated the planning board had held its public hearing on June 5th and read the letter from the planning board offering a favorable recommendation on the proposed amendments and listing their reasons for approval. I arrived at 7:45. I spoke, the councilors continued, spoke favorably about the project, the development team, and supported the increase of units and adding mixed use. The chair did ask if there was further comment on the language amending the vote of the special permits. There was nothing from the attorney that was present. Councilor Navin moved to recommend approval of the zoning changes. It was seconded and carried 4-0, and I'm going to ask for a suspension tonight to vote on that. I will note I received a communication from Assistant Solicitor McManus, who ruled that in allowing mixed use with this overlay district, adoption of this amendment requires a simple majority vote. The second item on the agenda was order number 23-100-8721F, a proposed ordinance amendments to Chapter 650 zoning relative to certain provisions concerning mixed use and affordable housing. I had sent out a draft. The solicitor had added comments. The committee was very indulgent with me going over all of those, adding comments. This has been tabled in committee. We have 2 meetings set up. The first one is July 10th, where we will take this back up again, along with the request from the convenience store to operate 24 hours, and then on July 11th, if we need to continue discussion, and also to discuss the application for a special permit from ATM Bank on Boston Post Road West. So a suspension to take up the order this evening.
So a request for suspension of the rules to take up the ordinance change for the Green District. All those in favor of the suspension? Opposed? The suspension carries 10-0. Councilor Roby.
So I would move the recommendation of committee, which is to approve the zoning changes, is an ordinance, so it has to go through stages.
So the motion to approve the Green District zoning change. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councilor Oram.
Thank you, Mr. President. And the reason I rise is I question trying to stay consistent, and that was just with a few applicants tonight as well as previous applicants. The planning board reasoned it out that this location in Marlborough is a good location for additional housing. We originally had only voted for the 425, and I thought at first going 100% might be too much, but based on the presentation and the planning board's review, I will be in favor of this tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we're good. This has to go through the 4 stages. So, all those in favor of suspending the first reading and approving the second reading? All those in favor? Opposed? It carries 9-1. All those in favor of the passage to be enrolled? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries 9-1. All those in favor of the passage to be ordained? All those in favor? Opposed? Carries 9-1. Is there any objection to passage in one evening? Seeing none, the ordinance change is approved. Are there any other reports of committees? Last chance. Council Dumas?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:50. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.